Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of the Pink Moon lesson. Last time we learned the song exactly as Nick Drake played it. This time we're going to learn how to play Pink Moon in standard tuning so that you don't have to retune your guitar every time you play it. And of course, I'm not just going to show you where to put your fingers and call it a day. I'm going to take you through the process of reworking this song so that you understand the theory behind what we're doing. If you'd rather just watch a playthrough of the song with tabs and chord diagrams and without any of the explanation, I'll link to that somewhere up here. We're really just going to be focusing on left-hand stuff in this lesson because all the strumming and right-hand stuff we covered in part 1 still applies here. So if you want an explanation of the strumming in this song, check out part 1 where we cover that in detail, or you can get the full tab for this standard tuning version, which includes all the strumming patterns, at the link in the description. The theme and transition are really made up of just one chord that he embellishes in different ways. That chord in the original tuning is all open strings except for the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, which gives us the notes D, A, D, A, D, F sharp. So 3 Ds, 2 As, and 1 F sharp, which is just a simple D major chord. So we're starting out with a 1 chord because we're in the key of D, and we're just going to use our standard open D shape. The first embellishment happens right away where he does a hammer on from the open 3rd string to the 2nd fret. That 3rd string, once you factor in the capo, is tuned to a G, just like ours. So we can do the exact same move and hammer on from the open G string to the A on the 2nd fret. The other embellishment comes in the 2nd measure where he does this kind of hopping move from string to string on the 2nd fret. The notes that he hits are E, B, and low E, and we can't do exactly that in this tuning, but we can get pretty darn close. If we walk down the D and the A strings on the 2nd fret, that gives us our first 2 notes, and then we can just jump back up to the D string for the 3rd note instead of moving down to the 6th string, which gives us the right note, just an octave higher than the original, but that still sounds pretty good to my ears. And keep in mind, nothing we do in this standard tuning version is going to sound exactly the same as the original version. If it did, there wouldn't have been any need for him to use that alternate tuning in the first place. What we're doing here is getting as close as possible while accepting some compromise in sound for the benefit of not having to retune. In the original verse, he does a full bar on the 7th fret while fretting the 9th fret of the 3rd string, which gives us the notes A, E, A, E, A, C sharp. So if we take out all the duplicates, we're working with A, C sharp, and E, which are the notes that make up an A major chord. Another way we could have figured that out is that the chord shape he's using here is actually the same exact chord shape that he uses in the previous section, just moved up 7 frets. We know that that chord was a D major, and if we do the math, we find that when you move a D major chord up 7 frets, you get an A major chord. Okay, so we're starting with an A chord, and the next thing that happens in the original is he makes a slight change to that chord by lifting the finger that he had on the 3rd string and moving it to the 2nd string. This changes what was an E on the 3rd string to a D, and what was an A on the 2nd string to a B, giving us an A11 chord. So theoretically, we could use an open A chord shape, and then do this, which would move our E to the open D and our A to a B, but the problem with that is that both of those notes are an octave lower than the ones he plays in the original, and to my ears that just doesn't sound right. So instead, we're going to use a partial D major caged shape up here on the 7th fret. And by partial, I mean we're not playing the high E string. It might look like I'm barring, but I'm actually just laying my finger lightly across the strings so as to mute that high E. We could let the open E ring here because it wouldn't clash with the chord, but I think it sounds better without it. So that gives us this A as the highest note in the chord, which is important because when we move to the A11, which is this, we do bar the 7th fret, which gives us this B on the high E string, and that allows us to hear the A in the first shape move to the B in the 2nd shape, just like we hear in the original. So that takes care of our high A to B movement, and the E to D movement is easily accomplished by picking up our 3rd finger, which moves this E down a whole step to the 7th fret, which we're now barring, which is a D. I'm also letting the open A string ring here, which makes the chord sound much fuller. And real quick, while we're talking about that, you'll notice that in the demos, I'm using my finger to strum here as opposed to a pick, like I did in part 1 of the lesson. That is largely because I find it much easier to avoid accidentally hitting that low E string in this section by simply muting it with my thumb than it would be if I was using a pick. This is totally personal preference. If you're better at avoiding that low E as you strum than I am, and you prefer to use a pick, by all means go for it. This is just what works best for me. Okay, so next in the original version, he moves that A major shape down 2 frets and does the same variation where he changes strings with his third finger. And that's basically what we're going to do here, with the exception of that open A string, because we can't move an open string down 2 frets. So we could just mute the open A string as we move down to the 5th fret here, but then we end up with kind of a thin sounding chord in comparison to the previous one. So what we're going to do instead is bar the 5th fret, which gives us a D on the A string as the lowest note in this chord. That makes this chord an inversion, which is a chord whose lowest note is not the root note. In this case, we're playing a G major chord because we just slid the A chord down a whole step. But since D is our lowest note, this is a G over D. It's a G chord with a D in the bass. Other than that change to the bass note, we do exactly the same thing with this chord as we did with the A, which is mute the high E string with our first finger. And then when we go to the G11, we bring that finger down to get an A on the high E string and lift our third finger up to get a C on the G string. There are 2 new chords introduced in the chorus. The first one in the original tuning is played like this, fretting the lowest 3 strings on the 2nd fret and leaving the other strings open. The notes that gives us are E, B, E, G, D, and F sharp, but he's not really hitting the first string on this chord, so we can leave that F sharp out, which leaves us with E, B, G, and D making up an E minor 7 chord. Luckily, we can get the exact same voicing of that chord very easily in standard tuning, like this. First and second fingers on the 2nd fret of the A and D strings respectively, and the 4th finger, or 3rd finger if you prefer, on the 3rd fret of the B string. The other chord in the original version is played by simply letting go of the 6th and 4th strings, so that you're left with just the 5th string still being fretted on the 2nd fret. That moves our 2 E's down to D's, so our new chord is D, B, D, G, D, which is a G major. The way he has it voiced is with a low D in the bass, so there's our old friend, G over D again. We don't have that low D in standard tuning, so we're going to instead play that as a G over B, which I think sounds pretty close to the G over D in the original. So our 2 new chords are E minor 7 and G over B. The rest of this section is just recycled material from the theme and transition, so here's our version of the chorus. In the bridge, we're playing a descending line that harmonizes the piano melody. In the original version, that line starts on the 7th fret of the 3rd string with all the other strings open, which gives us the notes D, A, D, 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 F sharp, making a slightly different voicing of D major from the one we saw in the theme and transition. In our version, we're sticking with the regular open D shape with the 3rd fret of the B string being the first note of our harmony line. And then we're going to walk that note down the scale while holding the D chord to create the first half of the harmony line. So the next note we're going to move to is C sharp, which is just a half step down from D. So we're going to move our D down to C sharp. After that, our harmony note moves down a whole step to the open B string. Then another whole step to A, which puts it on the 2nd fret of the G string. And starting here, we want to try not to strum the highest 2 strings because we want it to sound like that open B is moving down to the A. So once we hit that A, we don't want to hear the B ringing out anymore. Then we're going to move down another whole step to open G. And finally, we switch over to that E minor 7 chord we saw in the chorus. And that is the first half of the bridge. For the second half, in the original, the harmony line picks back up on the 5th fret of the 5th string with all the other strings open, and he's not really strumming the high strings. That essentially gives us a whole bunch of Ds and one G, which is a G5 or a G power chord. We're going to play that like this. Basically an open G chord with no high E string and with the A string muted. We're muting that A string with our second finger, so make sure you're angling your second finger in a way where it touches the A string. So our chord is G, D, G, D. The second half of the harmony line for us starts on the open D string and walks down in the same fashion that it does in the first half. So after we play this initial G5 chord, our harmony note moves down a half step to C sharp, which we're going to play right here on the 4th fret of the A string. Then it moves down another whole step to B, which is on the 2nd fret of the A string. And right here we have to change our hand position a little bit because we no longer want that A string to be muted. So we're going to want to lift up or arch our second finger a little bit to get it off of the A string. Then the note moves down another whole step to open A. And then we have our last 3 quick harmony notes, G, which we're already on, then F sharp a half step down, and finally open E. When we move to the G note after the open A, we ideally want to start muting that A string again because we don't want the A to continue ringing as we play our last 3 harmony notes. Now in the original, the last note of the harmony line is the open 6th string, which in his tuning is a low D rather than an E like we have in standard tuning. And normally I'd really try to avoid changing a note like this, but in this case, I don't think it's that big a deal because that note is so quick, it kind of almost functions more as a filler note as we transition to the next chord than as an actual harmony note. Speaking of the next chord, we're just jumping back to our open D chord and basically playing the transition part once, and that's the end of this section. So here's a playthrough of what we have for the bridge. And that's everything. So obviously this is just my interpretation, right? I'm sure there are lots of other ways you could do this. And if you have any ideas for how to voice any of these chords differently, please let us know in the comments because the more options we have, the better. If you like how I've laid it out here and you want the tabs for the whole song in standard tuning, there's a link in the description where you can get that. And of course, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And finally, if you have any songs you want me to do next, let me know in the comments. With that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.